Well, this is going to be a two-part video for sure. It's going to be a long article by Glenn Greenwald. But to head it off, you know, I subscribe to several progressive websites, and I view these websites on a regular basis, as I do some conservative websites. And the progressive movement as a whole, once again, is in my view, using the exact opposite of what I would be doing, and that is, you know, progressives have now raised $300,000. I'm sorry, like, yeah, $300,000 to persuade the progressive faction in Congress to hold true to their votes when they said no to, we're not going to vote for any plan that doesn't contain a public option. So they have raised money ahead of time, ahead of the vote, in order to funnel more money into Congress. Now, I would have used the exact opposite approach. You don't funnel money to people who haven't cast their vote yet. In fact, you threaten to withdraw the money. So, as far as the fighting spirit in terms of progressives are concerned, once again, it's kind of wimpy, I would say. So let me just point out where we are today in terms of us progressives, because we're getting screwed at every point, and so are the rest of the American people, whether they know it or not. But this is a long essay, so please bear in mind that it's going to take some time listening to. And if you don't have the time for it, shut it off now. It won't make any difference if nobody listens. You know, this is about ordinary people in America, and not the right wing, the left wing, or anybody else, really. So here are some excerpts from Glenn Greenwald's very long essay. If one were to analyze matters from a purely utilitarian standpoint, one could always justify the White House's attempt to write a healthcare plan that accommodates the desires of the pharmaceutical and drug industries, i.e. mandates of 50 million people forced into corporate control. And with, on top of it, plus government subsidies to pay their premiums, plus no meaningful cost controls whatsoever, i.e. the public option that's being discussed right now. All other things being equal, it's better, from the White House's political perspective, that those industries not spend vast sums of money trying to defeat Obama's healthcare proposal, that they did not pour their resources into the GOP's 2010 midterm election efforts, that they do not unleash their fully armed lobbyists and strategists to sabotage the Democratic Party. That's the same calculating mindset that leads the White House to loyally serve the interests of the banking industry that caused the financial crisis. Oh, you know, we don't want to make enemies out of Goldman Sachs, you know, and our investment bankers and our friends over at the GOP. Indeed, that's the same mindset that leads the White House to avoid any fights with the political right and or with the intelligence community and permanent military establishment over terrorism policies, for instance. You know, there's no political benefit to subjecting ourselves to accusations of being too soft on terror, and there's plenty of reasons to cling to those executive powers of secrecy, detention, and war making. That's the rationale of the Democratic Party leadership right now. In essence, this is the mindset of Rahm Emanuel, and its precepts are as toxic as they are familiar. The only calculation that seems to matter is maximizing political power. The only change that's meaningful is converting more Republicans into Democratic seats. A legislative win is determined by whether Democrats can claim victory, not by whether anything constructive is being achieved. The smart approach is to serve and thus curry favor with the most powerful corporate factions, not to change the rules to make them less powerful. The primary tactic of Democrats should be to be more indispensable to corporate interests so as to deny the GOP that money and direct it towards the Democrats instead. The overriding strategy is to scorn progressives while keeping them in their place, and then expand the party by making it more conservative and more reliant on blue dog Dems. Democrats should replicate Republican policies on terrorism and national security, not abandon them, in order to remove this issue as a political weapon once and for all. If those Emmanuelly, I can't even pronounce this word, okay, premises are the ones that you accept, if you believe that Obama should be guided by base concerns of political power, then you're likely to be satisfied with the White House's approach thus far, both in general and on healthcare in specific. That would also mean that you're basically satisfied with the behavior of Democrats during the Bush era, and especially during 2006 when they won a majority in Congress, since that is what has driven them for the last decade. All that matters is that we beat the Republicans, and we should do anything to achieve that, including serving corporate donors to ensure that they fund us and not them, and turning ourselves into war-making, civil liberties abridging, secret-loving GOP clones in the national security realm. Part 2 to follow.